I'll be here.
That's good. Some pretty dope tea. Today's the 10th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I didn't even realize that photo, man. That is awesome. That's what you feel. That's what you feel like. That's what I just wrote about.
I wrote about that too, actually.
I didn't even see. I wrote. I didn't even see it right now, but
About floating in space.
yeah, I just talked about taking you back to a place where you knew that you were before you were even conceived in the womb. Somewhere.
Primordial, something.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I said before mortality. Before you took your first breath.
I related. I was thinking about like, what if Freud and Carl Jung got a chance to float? Like their perception of the dream archetypes would probably be a little bit more confirmed, or that. And I also was like, as an athlete, a scholar, a father, a fiance, there's a lot of the universe can be unsweet, but with floating, you can commune with the universe directly in a more intimate way, so you can get those questions answered, and maybe some revelation may happen.
I believe it. I think it's true.
I like this tea.
I know, it's very good.
Is it just like straight green tea?
I know, it's something else. It has some, I don't know if it's
It's like
or
it's like almost like a honey tea.
like a honey. I don't want to say like. I've tasted this before. I won't say Carlos makes tea like this.
Carlos?
Yeah. And Sprouts too.
Yeah.
I seriously still can't believe I just opened that.
Yeah,
I haven't worked
Nice
here. I haven't worked here in like 7 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, yeah, Folger. What? You guys get some good stuff in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about, I was talking about, Freud and Carl Jung did a lot of work in the dream archetypes and, sleep status and everything like that. So I think had they floated, they would have been able to confirm a little bit more.
All the things. Have you guys done any research on John Lilly?
John Lilly, who's that?
He invented the float tank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't really.
You should check him out.
Yeah.
Dude's crazy. He's not alive anymore, but he essentially, I usually carry one of his books around, but he did tons of research on like consciousness, and for his like actual career, he did a lot of he was a scientist, did lots of lectures and everything, but he did lots of research on like dolphins because of their brain structures and everything like that. He even tried to communicate with dolphins like while floating. And to someone who floats, it's like not too far-fetched, but like to the everyday person, especially back in the 60s and 70s, even 80s, I think he died in early 90s or something, but it'd be like, all right, man, like, what the heck are you talking about? But he starts doing, like, you should check out some of his books. One of his most popular book is called Center of the Cyclone, and then he has another book called Programming and Metaprogramming in the Human Biocomputer, and they're really deep. Like, you have to, like, really, like, sit down, no distractions, and, like, really, like, look into his reading, because he actually purposely makes it, especially in beginnings of the books, like, so in-depth that he doesn't want just the average reader to read it. He almost wants this for, like, whoever's actually interested in what's going on.
So who's going to move the science forward is who he's addressing.
Absolutely. And so he was crazy because he did a lot of stuff with, like, LSD and ketamine.
Sure.
And he, like, our owner, he has a podcast, Nick Janicki, which you should also check out. He did a podcast with this guy who lives in Sedona. He used to float with Lily. And he's like a free energy scientist, or zero point energy scientist, and essentially just like kind of got shut down by the government. And but he worked right alongside with Lily. He actually cured this guy's cancer with ketamine, injecting ketamine straight into his cancer cells. And like he bought one of the float tanks from us. But the way that they talk about it and like their understanding of that space, like of the mind, and how. Because I'm reading the Programming and Metaprogramming book right now, and it's fascinating because ultimately, like, what we're programmed. Everything that we do has been programmed. Like, you don't come out of the womb like knowing stuff. You're essentially programmed by your society, by your parents.
Right.
And I don't necessarily like the term programmed,
So
but
like
it's the best term for it.
It's like the nature versus nurture argument.
Absolutely. But he's saying that you're almost programmed by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still all like, so
sense.
this is the computer, the biocomputer, and then everything else is the programs that it's running. So when you're floating, you're in a more programmable state. You're in that theta wave state. So that's why I always say that like affirmations are good, or like a lot of people just try not to think in there. But in my opinion, it's the best place to think because
I end up thinking the whole time.
Right. And things that like really stick with you, you might think about like all the time, every day. But when you're in there, you're like, yes, yes, and it's like such an epiphany almost. And it's just so interesting because like we have our subconscious, and it really is almost like a computer. Like it's almost like a hard drive in there, where for me sometimes where I'll have dreams in there or thoughts where like a friend from years ago that I completely forgot about. No recollection in my current memory, but it just pops into my head, and it's almost like a lucid dream with that person or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to kind of delve into the different areas of the mind. And
well, one of my first experiences floating, because I did it right before I got him onto it. You know, it was almost like I was almost in a constant dream state where like instant increase in psilocybin. I'm dreaming probably 10 minutes into the float.
Right.
And I'm fully dreaming, and it was like a guide. I had like a guide to kind of a guide to my thoughts, like my own narrator. So I'm able to kind of narrate what's going on, and you really do think of
lucid. It's like,
yes, lucid. And you also think of things that haven't been part of your forefront along,
Right.
So it was.
It's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
We need to get like I always imagine, and I don't know if you guys like listen to Joe Rogan.
Oh, all the time. We train
right
MMA, so we.
Okay, cool.
Listen
Awesome.
to Joe.
But he has a lot of good things to say.
He
does. He's a smart dude, and we need like those open-minded thinkers and logical thinkers, not just like what you've been told. That's not what it is, but just like let's think about why we do the things we do, or let's think about why we are the way that we are. But he was joking around, and it's like, could you imagine if we had all of our people running for the presidency like floating, and like seeing how that would affect things, or just seeing if the general population would be floating, like how things would kind of change. And because I mean, even in a city like Phoenix or like Tempe, where it's so busy, and like even when you hit the road and like everybody's locked into their own programs, so to speak, they're like only they're like locked, confined within their space.
Right.
Whereas floating, you can kind of open it up and break out of your norms that you feel is so normal and regular, that it kind of allows you just to like think freely again.
Yeah.
But I'm sad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what he's talking about. Going in there, copying everything.
Now, you mentioned Joe Rogan last time.
Oh man, I was listening to him today. Because a lot of the compilations of the motivational YouTube videos that you listen to. And you can watch them. It's just that.
I might just have
Joe Rogan's in a lot more now than I used to hear in the last few years. And he talks about just the state of mind, like you create, and of course lately it's been you be your hero. And Joe Rogan was saying this morning, like, I love this sort of fucks up, completely fucks up their lives. It comes back.
Oh yeah.
I love those stories better than the guy that just climbed the mountain and never fell down the mountain. But the guy that fucking tumbled to the bottom, he says, and then rise to the occasion. That's being your own hero. And I was just thinking, you think these things, but he talks about how it starts in the mind, And Tony Robbins was another one today too, this morning, saying, everything you do, since your book is programmed.
Okay, cool.
Why can't you do that? Why? Who told you couldn't do that? Where did that come from?
The invisible restrictions.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm trying to work on Tony Robbins. Bill Rogan speaking to me. And I was like, I can't wait to come here. I can't wait. I think Priscilla would love to see.
Oh yeah.
Hey man,
welcome
back.
Her a little bit.
How's your
Some
float?
people
Yeah.
who don't allow themselves to go there, you have to be able to go there. Look at a picture like that. That's how you should feel. You should feel. Al Fuentes told me when he was your first year there, and he was a mentor. He was saying, you're just a
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah.
like the size of all of this. He said, you're this, not even a blip. So what's holding you back? You know? Do what you are meant to do. Bend the will, you know, bend the will. Think it. Put that white light, that white energy. And it just changed my mind, man, because you're just so used to thinking like, I want to live like that. I remember asking my dad a question when I was sake days. My dad couldn't answer it. And to him it sounds stupid. I asked him, you know, where did money come from? He said, well, it's printed, it's made. Well, I know, I was asking where the concept, where did the idea come from, and why does it have value? And he was like, well, it just, he couldn't really explain it to me because he, you know, get frustrated, you know, he's trying to crank on an engine and explain something to me, but he really couldn't, you know.
Here's another trippy thought that I was thinking about floating. So I'm starting to think like, so we have like cellular memory, like how even like our cells kind of have this like some sort of memory, I guess you can call it, whatever.
It's like written into our DNA.
Exactly. So when we're floating, like if I believe in evolution, it's like I feel like it's kind of hard not to. But if we came from the water, here it is that we're back in the water. Go back even further, if we did for somehow like our collisions from asteroids from space, we're floating in like zero gravity. So it's like merging, like it's like the cellular memory of being both in the water, but also like in this like zero gravity state.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? Right?
Yeah.
How's your float, Paul?
Great.
Yeah? Want to hang out for a bit? You ready to check out?
I'm going to check it out.
Beautiful.
See if you can get me in the cover tomorrow. Okay. You just, like he said, everybody's in their car. You see it. Same routine. You've been there, and you have, you know what I mean, drivers in front of you, drivers behind you. But if you just do differently, like it reminds me of Neo, you know, he sees a big picture, Morpheus is like, you know, and then you're like, you don't have to live in that world. I think that's basically what a lot of nature was saying, like, you don't have to live in that world.
Yeah. I think it was a metaphor for.
I think so too.
Yeah, because I never really saw it, like watch it and think like this is us really, but the metaphor was there. You know, it wasn't saying that we are literally plugged into something, but we might as well be. You know some water from home?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit the register right before I go anyway.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes.
Do either of you want your own music today?
Yeah, I want to play my own.
Your own music? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I might just throw on some CJ Chan motivational videos and just listen to those, or I might just do.
I'm gonna try to stay awake. He said, you know, he's like, I'll try to stay awake just to let the mind.
But yeah, I mean, I think too though, if you drop into your if it's a natural dream state for you.
Yeah.
Plus, you can only schedule for tomorrow too, so you can probably do that right now. Wow.
Actually, that's what we like, man. Especially because we kicked it out pretty good with him. So it'd be something cool if we can do it tomorrow for the veterans.
That'd be cool.
Let's ask him before he gets back. You know, we got them situated, so they're probably after us. Or 8:32. Yeah, that's good. I like that picture, man. That's how first time how I felt like that. I felt like I was a cocoon going back where it all started.
Well, I was when I left here last time, I wrote a little bit on a sci-fi story I'm working on because my Predator Rogue story, because there's a character who was launched from our time now into space, and you know they lost contact with him, but he was in a deep freeze. So he lands on the same planet that Earth is now trying to colonize now, like the inhabitants of Earth are now trying to colonize, because it was a Goldilocks zone planet. And he's been able to tap into the psyche of all of the natural inhabitants of the new planet, because he's just literally sleeping in a dream state. You know, he's body's frozen, but his mind's still, you know, in a dream state. So he's been able to teach, and where I'm at in the story is they're getting ready to stumble upon the cocoon-shaped thing that he's in, and he's in sort of like a jelly, you know, because they don't do like straight, and they don't do a straight freeze, because in order to unfreeze you or unthaw you have to get the cells moving again, you gotta get the blood flowing again. So a lot of that's liquid base. So if you straight freeze someone, they're going to die. The organism dies.
Yeah.
But if you slow everything down the molecular level to enough where they even, I mean, he looks like he aged 7 years, but he's been gone thousands.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just it's a different mentality. So it's not cryogenic freezing like we're used to. Like you're this frozen piece of meat we pull out of the fridge and unthaw. You're, you know, just slowed down on the molecular level instead of a true frozen. You know, because carbon-based organisms, you can't do that to.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're a carbon-based life form and you have your molecules slowed down and you have the science behind it, then why not? But still age. You know, your hair still grow, your nails still grow, things like that. But if you have a machine regulating that, you know, clipping your nails for you, keeping your hair cut for you, getting your shave cut for you, and then keeping the cells moving slow. Then when you do come out, you're still sort of fresh. So that was the idea behind that. What I was thinking about when I was first time I floated. I had my own internal narrator when I was first doing it. Like it was Morgan Freeman's voice.
Yeah.
Right there. I think so, but then again, his mind might be too active to slow down like ours does.
I think he would be able to. I think being here would allow him to put that, at least if he were to do it once a month, once every 2 or twice a month.
You know who I want to get in here? Brian.
Yeah.
I think it would change
See,
his.
For me, this is something like for someone like him, it would take a little bit to get him there right now. I don't know if he's reached that state of mind.
I think we've underestimated Brian from the get.
I know I have from the beginning.
I know I have for sure. I don't know. I think he could. Then again, you know, everybody's gonna have their own reaction to it. I know Maria's mind's like, you know, ping pong.
Well, for someone like Maria, she would probably have to leave the pot open.
Probably.
Not close it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not that claustrophobic.
Right.
What the heck? I want out of here. You know, there's part of that she's gonna be like, I'm done. I'm out of here. But it's just you have to get past that fear. Even I had that level. I'm gonna close this thing. I could leave it open.
I know. I had that fear. I had like an inkling of fear when I first tried it, and then after I was in there for maybe 2 minutes, I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm not even gonna.
I just felt like, oh man, I feel like Sigourney Weaver right now. I'm in space, and I was just like, this is cool. I just had this cool feeling, but it was just in a split second where I was just like, I want to close this, and just go and do it. That was so relaxing. I think I slept 10 hours that night.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Wednesday, and I slept for 10 hours, man. Yeah, that felt great. A lot of people would benefit from this. Smokers would benefit from this.
You guys all set?
Yes. Give up smoking.
Go ahead and talk to us.
I'm so sorry. Remember your names again? Orlando and
David.
David. Okay, cool. I was like, I'm D.
I do need to hit the restroom real quick, but
Yeah, of course. I'll just direct you guys can
grab my phone real quick. We're getting ready to go in.